Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers and their coaches. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I can see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can be incredibly lonely. You can feel more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. Clients who are more successful, more intelligent, and wealthier than you need your support more than they know and more than you can imagine. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, and the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything. Hi, Chris.
Rich, good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while since we recorded one of these podcasts, although we have regular coaching conversations over time.
Yes.
How long have we been together now in 4PC? 3 years coming up?
I've been in 4PC for 3 years, and I met you September 2019, 4 years ago, at a deep dive in Toronto.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that deep dive very well.
Yes.
All sorts of interesting experiences there, including having dinner served to us by blind waiters, if I recollect.
Correct. Yeah. Toronto has a dark theater with or restaurant with blind waiters. Yeah.
So here's what I know about you, Chris. Quick background. You were a world famous DJ back in the 90s, huge following, traveled around the world.
Yes.
People at your they called raves back then. They possibly were.
I was a rave pioneer. Yes. Yeah.
That dates both of us. Moved from that into stage hypnotism, of all things. Moved from that into the world of tech, and built a company that runs to this day, makes a big difference to people's lives in the world of technology, and generates passive revenue for you that comes behind the scenes while the company's still running, other people doing a lot more of the upfront side of things. Good summary?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
When we met, you were shifting into coaching or wondering, what else am I going to do in this world? You had a coaching mindset, which I love. Every once in a while, entrepreneurs come into 4PC. They're not coaches overtly. Sometimes they want to be, sometimes they don't. But if they have a coaching mindset, they understand the power of asking great questions, not always having the right answer, then they're the right people for 4PC, which is why you've been there for 3 years. So there's a quick bit of background. And it's always good to play with you. Where would you like to go today? What would make this a really valuable conversation for you?
So when I was invited back on, I think one of the things that's come up for me is, and I appreciate you talking about my coaching mindset, because I like to think I bring that into everything I do, even if I don't have what we would consider a coaching practice. I would like some help today on teaching what I need most to learn.
When you say teaching what I need most to learn, who's doing the teaching? You want me to teach you? You want to teach this to other people?
Help me become a teacher of what I need most to learn. This is a phrase that I've heard you use in the past, and it's something that has intrigued me. And I think as I wrestle with this period of my life of great opportunity, great freedom, there's other people like me, and how can I help them as I help myself?
Right. So what you're referring to is a phrase I use sometimes, very often in our profession, the coaching field. We teach what we most need to learn. I help powerful people remember how powerful they are, because for so much of my life, I felt powerless. It's my gift. I can see where someone else is more powerful than they know, no matter how powerful they are. But I still struggle with that myself sometimes. So that's what I'm pointing at there.
Yes.
Well, let's see it. Something comes to mind for me because I was talking to Rita about you in the previous podcast episode we recorded earlier. And it might have been Rita, it might have been Patty, but it was about the murder mystery party we ran at 4PC.
Yes.
So for anyone who didn't listen to the other episode, we ran a murder mystery party one evening, but it wasn't a take it off the shelf murder mystery party you can buy in a store. It was created and curated for us by a member of 4PC who's a former executive at Disney. And a bit like that movie, the Game with Michael Douglas, he looked at each of us, our persona, our personality, what holds us back, what drives us forward, and created a character based around that. And then he gave us this long, detailed analysis of our character and all these questions we needed to ask other people. It's this I got it, and I thought, oh my God, I'm not a details person. I was overwhelmed. My strategy was, all right, well, I'm going to bring this into the room. I cannot possibly learn this. I'll have it with me and I will check my notes as we're going and playing the game. Your strategy was, I'm an improviser. It's how I've always showed up. Great DJs are improviser. In the moment, they know how to read the room, read the energy of the thousands of people in front of you. Stage hypnotist too. You improvising is your thing. And what happened in this particular experience, you tried to improvise, and then all of us with our notes came along and said, hey, I'm this character. Tell me what I need to do next. And tell me how these two characters are related. And it really had an impact on you. So you wrap up the story from there.
Yeah. So I know as a performer in those fields that you've talked about, nobody knows how it's supposed to go except unless I bring attention to myself. And I learned over the years, do not bring attention to yourself and no one's going to be the wiser. At this murder mystery party that we had in 4PC in Lake Como, all of a sudden I was surrounded by people who did know how it was supposed to go because they had their notes with them. I looked at mine and metaphorically chucked it away and then walked into the room. And I had fun for about 5 minutes until people started coming to me asking specific questions, and I didn't know what the hell they're talking about. And it ended up exposing an old wound of mine, of my lack of formal education. And so I was right back in high school flunking the exam. And I didn't realize it in that moment. I was deer in headlights in that moment, but as I reflected since, I realized that's what happened. Yeah.
And for so many of us too, it really was a murder mystery party in service of transformation. Each of us had our own deer in the headlights or back in high school moments for whatever reason. The reason I raise it with you is the way I've been reflecting on it ever since is that gift you have of improvising has been brilliant at getting you to where you are today. But let's play out that frame of what got you here won't get you there.
Yep.
That's what interests me. I know you want to make a difference in the world of climate change. You've taken this on as an impossible mission. This is something, how can I possibly make a difference in any way? I don't care. I'm taking it on. This is my mission and I'm doing this. I love impossible goals. You've really owned one of the biggest impossible goals here.
And that's me playing into my strengths. You want to see an impossible goal? I will show you an impossible goal. And I've done it. And I was intrigued by just the question, what will happen because I dare speak it?
Now, I love that. For me, a goal is about where do you come from, not whether you get there or not. And what interests me, Chris, is that I have seen opportunities since you've put that goal out into the world for you to step towards it faster than you have. That there are all sorts of possibilities around you so close, and I don't see you stepping towards them. Feel free to push back, but I'm going to roll on this one. So when I was coaching Rita this morning, Rita's going to has been invited to the Global Climate Summit that's happening very soon. A member of 4PC, one of your peers and colleagues, is actively involved in climate change. There are other people who we know, perhaps more indirectly, who I could connect you with, and I haven't seen this.
Okay, so I will push back right now in this moment, because in Lake Como, you brought up my mission, and Rita's a new member for 4PC. Because you spoke it in reference to me in that moment, it caught her ear, and we did have a great conversation in Lake Como, and that happened because I'm speaking it. And Rita's a new relationship to me. Yeah. Things are happening. She was close. Something did happen there, and I look forward to seeing what else.
Good. So that excites me. I put it to you that, how should I say this? Your gift of improvising, I'm not saying let it go. It's a gift not many people have. and that ability that you have to be in the moment, to not be present to thoughts, to not worry about what people think about you, to know that nobody knows how the game's supposed to be played, so I'm going to play it my way. There's a gift in there. And I think what will happen for you is you need to expand your range. You know how to play down this end where most people don't, but your ability to play on the other end too is what's going to create some really fascinating opportunities for you. The other end being, I'm prepared. I've got my notes. I'm ready. In your way. I can't memorize notes. I'm not recommending you memorize notes, but there's something on this other end of the spectrum that you've got to lean into to expand your range, because you're too far down this end of the spectrum.
I appreciate the phrase, what got you here won't get you there. Certainly in 4PC, if expanding our range is part of the journey in 4PC, sure, that exists for me. I see it clearly. You have told me in a previous conversation, I have the opposite to learn. Many of the group have to learn. Like I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. That was a great catch for me, because it revealed to me why I had so much value to bring to the group. Like, because I've been letting myself, all my weirdness and unique story come out, and I've been able to contribute to that to 4PC. And you did reflect to me, though, there's a golden opportunity amongst everyone else who are on the other side of the spectrum of what might be on offer that I just don't even see. Yeah.
So that's what dawned on me next as you're talking.
Yeah.
So one possibility is you lean into that other end of your range, expand your capacity to not just be the improviser, but the improviser who can plan when needed. That I'll put that to one side for a moment, because the other insight is, what if you teach this stuff? What if you teach this ability you have to be so present and in the moment, to improvise, no matter if there's 10,000 people in front of you, to be in the moment? What if you could? So what you have is the highest level of competence, unconscious competence. You can do this stuff so effortlessly and naturally. It's who you are. It was a no-brainer to you for that game. Oh, of course I'm going to improvise. The level above unconscious competence is mastery, when you can look down at what you do effortlessly and teach it to others. And I think that would be the other direction to lean into, certainly in our community in 4PC, but also, how can I bring that to leaders in the world of climate change?
Hell yes, that's exciting to me. It's also touching on another conversation we've had regarding talent stacking, as far as what does that look like for me, right? So, and that's a new thought. There's been parts of my past that have been very resistant, like, because I've seen them as closed chapters, closed books. You know, it's something I did. I will tell you about what I did, but it ends there, like, you know. And but how can I bring that up? I'm connecting this now, Rich, like right now in this moment, I'm connecting it to an experience we had in Como where a shaman was in the room and he was conducting energy in the room. And I had an interesting experience while this was happening, because a lot of the early rave DJs were compared to early like shamans, you know, and there's a lot of things that we dabbled in that we did not understand. I did not understand back, we're talking decades ago now. But what would become possible? Like, what is my form of this? What, you know, without bringing in a religion or something like that, but just, you know, to open people up, create. Oh, I'm going to speak a secret wish to you right now that I've been afraid to say. I have a deep desire to be a muse, and I believe there's something there. To take all these experiences that I've had, these unique. So now I'm shaking. Like, now something's happened.
So I'll let this land for you for a second. Take a moment to
please.
Breathe.
Okay.
Anyone who's listened the word or not sure about the word, a muse. The muse were the ancient Greek goddesses who would whisper in the ears of people to help enhance their creativity. So, yeah, whether you call it a muse or a mentor or a coach, they're different aspects of the same element. How can I be someone who's a trusted advisor, who can bring my magic? Because your magic is different. It's not the traditional coaching magic. To whisper into the ear of someone to help them really have transformation, both for themselves and, of course, being who you are, making a big impact in the world.
that's the Venn diagram, right? So that's the, as the circles just start to line up, where's the bullseye lie? And yeah, it's not about my range expanding into go get a degree in something and go create a new chapter. It's about tapping into these very unique experiences that I've had and this very deep, intimate knowledge I have with things and stack them in a way in service of this impossible goal that I have. And that's exciting to me, even if I don't know the first thing about what to do with the stuff that we're talking about right now in this moment. Yeah.
Well, you don't need. For now, let's come back to the mission of 4PC is to help you become a student of your own mastery.
Yes.
That's the game. That's what makes 4PC different to other masterminds. It's not my mind that you're trying to master, it's your own. And so the mastermind in 4PC, the element is to become a student of your own mastery. So go back to the days when you ran a rave and thousands of people were watching and you could read the room and you could increase and decrease the energy of the audience. How did you do that? What were you listening for? What were you looking for? What were you feeling in your body? Start to draw out those distinctions.
All good questions.
Stage hypnotism. What were you doing as a stage hypnotist? What was similar? What were the golden threads from being a DJ to a stage hypnotist? And what was slightly different?
Yeah.
Then the world of tech seems so different to these two other worlds. But where are there golden threads that continue through? And where there were new distinctions that you learned? So the phrase skill stacking comes from Scott Adams, who wrote the Dilbert cartoons. And what Scott says is, I was an average cartoonist. I wasn't very good at drawing. I wasn't that funny. I learned a little bit about hypnotism, actually. I learned a little bit about marketing. And I put all those things together, and I started to be different to every other cartoonist. And because I learned about business on top of that, he was one of the first cartoons that got syndicated to national newspapers all around the world. So that's the idea of skill stacking. When you can bring these different elements from all sorts of fields together, you become the only person in the world who does what you do. That's interesting to people.
It's interesting to me. It's exciting to me because I know how formidable that stack is. It's untouchable. I mean, and no one. It's interesting because sometimes when I have envy about some of the big DJs and how much money they make these days and how much fame they have compared to what I have, but they'll never know what it was like to throw an illegal rave for 4,000 people in an underground parking garage, and what called on me to do such a thing, and what was created because of that.
And I'm curious too, again, we may not go into it right now, but how did you translate that into helping to build a tech company that now generates a lot of money for you in passive income every single month? What were the golden threads there too? So that's the game for you next. Becoming a student of your own mastery. What have you done? And so, interestingly enough, I gave this as a challenge. I think it was to Rita, to do the same thing, because she works with women who are making a massive difference in the world. And I asked her to look at, how are you doing that? How have you done that? And then I decided to make it real. Instead of giving her 3 or 4 weeks to come back to me, I said, you're going to teach that in 4PC tomorrow morning. So it dawned on me to give you the very same challenge, because if I give you too long, it will overwhelm you. You've got less than 24 hours. Come up with 5 to 7 things that you do. 5 to 7 things that you do that have been golden threads all the way from DJing to hypnosis to building a technology company, and what you do now as an advisor, trusted advisor to people. Let's bring that out tomorrow in 4PC.
A video, a text. Oh no, wait, we have a call. Okay, sorry. Yeah, there's a call.
Man. I'm going to be asking these questions live in the moment.
You know me, Mr. Improv. Just I'll make it up on the spot. Yeah.
But I don't want you. I want you to a little bit of preparation. This is that leaning into the edge from earlier.
I will.
Not just a little bit of preparation will go a long way with your improvising.
So just so I'm clear, 5 to 7
themes, ideas, or words or concepts that capture why you were such an extraordinary DJ, how you were able to be so great at being a stage hypnotist, but also make money from it. And then how you're also able to build a technology company, and then have that be a company that generates money as passive revenue, and you're not actively involved in it, and the money still comes in.
Yes. Okay.
All right. If you're listening,
I have my marching orders, so yeah.
those of you listening, Chris and me are just smiling at one another right now.
Yeah.
Look, for those of you who are listening, coaching is interesting when you work with clients over time. Over 3 years, Chris and I have been working together, so I've got to know him incredibly well. There's a lot of trust in us. Some of the things that I said to him today, I couldn't have said a year, 2, 3 years ago. We've built this sense of trust with one another, and I see things in him that I wouldn't have seen earlier on. So I've given him this challenge. I don't get to wrap up this podcast with a nice, great insight that you get to take away. But what you can take away as you work with your clients is, how do you help them see their own genius? Well, you have to get them to turn a magnifying glass on themselves. That's not easy to do, to hold a mirror up to yourself, not easy to do. And sometimes it's easier to give a challenge that has a very short deadline so that the person you're working with cannot get stressed. They cannot worry about it too much. In just a few hours, Chris will be happy to present this to his community. 4PC is a place where you become a student of your own mastery. We're going to find that out tomorrow, Chris.
Awesome.
Thanks, man. Well, if you kept listening, I'm going to tell you something interesting. And if you kept watching, you're going to go, why did he change clothes? I changed clothes because we recorded that podcast 48 hours ago. And at the end of my conversation with Chris, I gave him a challenge. Teach this stuff, this thing that you are effortless at, your zone of genius, teach it. And it dawned on me, we have a 4PC call less than 24 hours later. So Chris came on that call and he showed up powerfully. He shared amazing ideas and distinctions about how he has done what he's done and had incredible success over many, many, many years. And I asked him after he'd finished, could I share that with my listeners? And he said yes. So enjoy. What you're about to hear is Chris teaching some of the principles that he has used to live an extraordinary life. And bear this in mind too, for you. You can get in your head about this stuff. What am I an expert in? What would I teach? Or you could know, if I had less than 24 hours, I wouldn't have time to get in my head. I'd come up with 5 principles, and that's what I would teach. Enjoy listening to what Chris teaches, because I really enjoyed it.
Rich invited me to share a bit of my magic. What's the common thread that was true when I was a DJ, a rave promoter, but then like these weird divergent connections, you know, a comedy stage hypnotist and then a tech founder millionaire. And these are good questions to ask because clearly it's true for me and within me. And the challenge Rich asked of me is, can I teach it? And I'm showing up today, not sure if I can yet, and I'm just going to go for it. So the very first thing I did today was I pressed a button on my desk and I took a new position. I'm standing right now and I create the pedestal. I did it as a DJ. I did it as a hypnotist. Hypnosis only works if people believe in your ability to hypnotize them, because I'm not actually doing anything to anybody. People believe in me as a headliner because I bring that energy with me. My wife pointed out to me yesterday, and that was also true with Stealth Seminar, my technology business. I had people believe in me. Now I went about it in a way that ended up being harmful for me by creating a false persona, but that's neither here nor there. I was leaning into creating a pedestal, and I want to create awe in myself and awe in the audience. And I used to do that through fucking awesome music, creating fucking awesome experiences, and performing without a net. And a wise woman, Wendy, mentioned earlier today, the DJ is a shaman is the person with the drum. And that connected with my own connections with what a DJ is, or what it was for me as a shaman in front of the room. And that's part, and I'm tapping into that right now. I saw opportunities where things were not well known yet. So I identified a style of music, a genre called happy hardcore that no one in America had ever heard of. It was out of England. I have great pride in, at the time, Yahoo was the dominant search engine, and they created a subgenre for me under their electronic music category for happy hardcore. And I was the single only website in there at the time. So like that was like the cutting edge that I was part of in exposing this new style of music to people. I also happened to create experiences called raves, which at the time in the 1990s had never been done before. 20 years before me, it wasn't even disco yet. So we're creating a new path. Something I think about a lot is a phrase, I wish this existed. And that was true for me then, and it's still true for me today. I create what I wished. I created what for what I wished for. I created what speaks to me. I create as an artist. I start with a vision of the final outcome. I played the records I wanted to play, and I didn't take requests. I was not a DJ there to fill time. Rich once said to me during an RLI while the DJ was playing, "Chris, why aren't you here as the DJ?" And it's like, that's not the type of DJing I did. I don't fill space. I create experiences, whether it's a DJ set, a hypnosis show, or software. I created as an artist my software. I created an experience of what it was to use a software. I created something that had never been done before, which was automated webinars. I actually invented that as a concept. It's pretty common now in marketing. It's used all over the place. We're a dominant name. There's many copycats. It came from me, and it didn't exist before I did it. Uncompromising trust in yourself and tastes. Rick Rubin was a topic of conversation this past year in 4PC. And when I Googled his name, I saw, that's my quote, uncompromising trust in yourself and taste. And here's Rick Rubin, who's not a musician, can't work the sound console, but he knows what he likes and he will communicate that with people. And that's given him the career that he's had. Talent stacking is a phrase that we've been talking about lately, but it's just like Rich talks about Latin quotes of things he teaches. All this stuff has existed for time immemorial. Clearly, I've been talent stacking my entire life. I talent stacked as a DJ and a rave promoter because I took my knowledge of business and entrepreneurship from a job that I'd started working when I was 12 years old in a computer and video game store. And I'd been with them for 8 years. That was my education. And I combined it with commerce. And I figured out, even though I wasn't valuing myself properly at the time, I still figured out how to make money at creating art. And I did that for many years. And I still see myself as an artist today. I measure results, not time spent on task. So it's all about the finished product. And as long as I've delivered on that thing, it doesn't matter how I got there or what it took. I've been willing to bet the farm when betting on myself. And I think about the difference between that and people putting their life savings into crypto or something like that. I'm willing to bet on myself and I'll risk everything and I can live with the outcome, win or lose. And I did this most recently with my exit through my software company. I made a huge bet and it's paid off. I did that as a rave promoter, every single event. I did that as a DJ when I didn't know what record I'm even going to start with. I was always willing to take huge risks. In a sense, I even took a huge bet on myself when I took this trip to Italy most recently with my wife, who was dealing with a lot of health issues, but we wanted it so badly, we went. Money is a byproduct and not the thing. So when I allow myself to be creative, when I'm doing awesome things, the money just happens to come in. The most unhappy I've been in my life is when I made it about the money. And there's a period of my life about 5 years long when I made $3.5 million, and I'd never been so unhappy and miserable. My final share for today is avoid gatekeepers and backdoor your way in. The moment you run into a gatekeeper, you disengage and pivot. I don't even bother. Sometimes the gatekeeper is well-meaning. Sometimes the gatekeeper shouldn't be trusted. And sometimes you are your own gatekeeper with a story of how it's supposed to be done or why you shouldn't try something. And that's something I've become quite good at checking in myself and then finding another way in. I'm really proud of my wife at the moment because they are really leaning into that lesson. My wife is presenting at a cancer conference in Nova Scotia with no formal education. We were having dinner with our kids, and I was able to share with them, there's 2 people at this table that you're sharing dinner with that have backdoored their way into everything. And I love modeling that for my children. Thank you.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching, it was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.